Welcome to the Shaq and Moo Show on the Move.
I'm Shaq.
I'm Moo, and we are in Glen Arden, Maryland, and our conversation today is on AI data centers.
Yes, sir. I mean, when you think about data centers, there's so many of them being built across the country, and they want to put a data center at the old Landover Mall site. What do you think about that?
I think about a quote that says, technology is best when it brings people together. And when we think about AI data centers, ain't a whole lot of togetherness going on.
There's a lot of hiding. There's a lot of economic development talks, right? When you think about economic development in data centers, it's a con job. You got to capitalize that CON in economic development. What else kind of problems? What are the other problems we have, Mustafa, when we think about data centers?
Man, energy, right? There's a huge amount of energy that is being used, and there's a lot of people across the country whose energy bills are going up. There's a lot of people who are pissed. There are a lot of people who are also want to know, how are we going to address this issue? Because it has pocketbook issues and impacts that are going on in everyday people's lives.
So I'm supposed to pay for your data center, and then my electricity bill is already high, it's gonna be higher? So I'm internalizing those costs? That is the problem. That is economic injustice when folks are already dealing with energy poverty, right? When people are already dealing with energy justice, and now you expect me to pay a higher rate, and then I gotta choose between paying my energy bill, paying for my medicine, and paying for my food.
But we also know that we've got problems with the pollution that's going to be associated with it. If AI isn't going to be green, then that means that we're going to use fossil fuels. And in many communities, both urban and rural, across our country, they're already dealing with toxic pollution.
I mean, so you think about it. They're going to be burning diesel as backup power for, for these generators, right? Mm-hmm. So when you burn diesel, you get something called particulate matter. That's dust in the air. That can cause asthma attacks, lead you to go to the hospital more. It can contribute to cancer, birth defects, low birth weight babies, elevated blood pressure. It can lead to more morbidity, more mortality, and lower life expectancy. That's just one pollutant. Then you got nitrogen dioxides. You got sulfur dioxides. You got something called volatile organic compounds. Man, VOCs, that's like that new car smell. I always say, hold your breath, right? So perfumes, but not good perfumes, right? So all these pollutants can impact your respiration. They can cause cancer. And so if you have a data center, that's the type of pollution you're gonna be exposed to every day in your community.
And that's why we need transparency. We need clarity. People need to know what's happening, what's coming in, who's getting paid off. So today's conversation is also about ethics, because ethics help us to have a better understanding and a framework for what's going on.
Yes, sir.
And what shouldn't be going on.
Yes,
so
sir.
Welcome to the Shaq and Moo Show.
Now we want to talk about the data center fight in Prince George's County. And we have Staci Hartwell with us today. Mm-hmm. Hey, Staci, how you doing?
Good to see you guys.
What's up, family?
Can you tell us about yourself and what you've been doing to fight against data centers in this Landover Mall area?
My name is Staci Hartwell. I am a native Washingtonian. I reside here in Prince George's County. As a matter of fact, I was at the opening of Landover Mall. I'm dating myself a little bit. But I'm with the South County Environmental Justice Coalition, and we look out for projects and how they serve or don't serve communities. And one of the ones that's on our radar right now, obviously, is the proposed Landover Data Center.
Mm-hmm.
And how have you been engaged in that fight?
The most important thing has been to let our community know about what's happening. They were really late getting in the game and being notified about this project. So we've really been working on raising community awareness, creating opportunities for people's voices to be heard, and staying in touch with our electeds and our appointeds.
So you said there's been a lack of transparency. They've been hiding stuff from the people.
I don't think they really put their best foot forward to notify the public about this project, the impacts of the project, what it really means to people in the short term and the long term. So, yeah, they haven't been really as transparent as we'd like for them to be.
And as a fellow Prince George's, county resident, myself living in Bowie, I think the county has a history of being just about business, but not about the people, right? So can you tell us about this recent report that you were a part of, to talk about the task force around this data center issue?
Yeah, I was invited to participate in the very first qualified data center task force here in the county. And I was really disappointed when I walked in and I saw that the majority of the people who sat around that table had a vested interest in the proliferation or building this particular data center.
Did they talk about the benefits? What were the supposed benefits of this data center to the county, to the residents, particularly those who live in this neighborhood that will host this new data center?
Well, I'll tell you what they said the benefits were. But you know what, when you look at a data center over the life of a data center, you know, I fail to see what the benefits are. Because all the information that we have, the scientific information, the quantifiable data, suggests that there are very little to no benefits to communities. But they told us that this would bring money to the community, and it would fund projects that the community needs to advance. It would help with education. It would help with infrastructure.
But that's a typical playbook. We're gonna bring you jobs, right? We're gonna bring you education opportunities. We're gonna bring you scholarships. What happens is, the benefits, they bring you turkeys and trinkets, but not real benefits. They bring you pollution, right? And bring you hazards, but they don't bring you economic opportunity and development. That's part of what we see a lot when we think about environmental injustice. And you know, we talk about legacy hazards like coal-fired power plants, you know, in Brandywine. We got landfills in Prince George's County, but these are emerging threats, right? Can you talk about data centers as an emerging threat, particularly in our county?
Well, you said a mouthful there, Dr. Sacoby, and let me just share with you. We're already suffering from cumulative impacts here. We have consistently rated low or gotten an F from the American Lung Association for air quality. As you well know, Maryland is like the epicenter for the highest rates of death related to air quality. So what you're going to do now, you're going to add a data center that not only exacerbates that problem, that brings more CO2 emissions, pollutes the water, and it's not just the water that it consumes, but it's the water that it discharges. So you're really looking at, you know, emerging technology that doesn't benefit the people.
And one of the things we just think about in this county and in this Landover area, when you look at the environmental justice mapping tool, this area scores about in the 86th percentile. So that means it's ranked really high for environmental burdens.
Absolutely.
It's ranked really high because of poor health status of folks. It's ranked really high because of poor infrastructure. What do you think about that, Mustafa?
Well, I think that we should have a conversation also on power, right? How do we help to empower the people to be able to make change happen?
And that's an IN power, not an EM power. So how do we empower the people?
I'll tell you, there is nothing more powerful than the voice of the people. If I could make a wish come true, is that people, if they could understand the power of their voice, the power of writing a letter, and the power of coming together, you know, in community to address these issues, because our politicians will listen. They were ignoring us until we got a groundswell of support. Then we couldn't keep the politicians out the room, because the people must demand that the politicians serve them and not developers.
And you think about what you just said. So you got politicians, they're talking to developers. Developers are whispering sweet nothings in their ear.
Oh my gosh.
Right? They're courting them all the time. But the people who elected them, they ignore them. Once they get in the office, they forget who got in the office.
Oh
and
my
what we want to
gosh.
tell people is to make a democracy work, it takes work. You just said you got to show up. So besides
Amen.
those politicians, what other avenues, planning commissions, other things that people should be doing, engaging in to stop this data center and bring in the right kinds of development, the good development?
You know, we meet with our electeds and appointeds often, and we share with them what our vision is. We've sent them examples of projects that exist even around in the DMV that would be very beneficial here, that would work here. Some projects we like, some projects we don't like as much. For example, they just proposed the sphere for National Harbor, and yeah, it beats a data center for sure. And what's more important to us is that they follow the plan that they put forward.
Exactly.
The county put forth a plan to address climate change, to address, you know, smart development, but they're not following the plan. And it's just really amazing that they are so influenced by the lobbyists, by the developers, that they deviate from the smart things that they said they were going to do.
Sounds like we got a little bit of corruption too in the county. We need to talk about that. That maybe it's informing and driving all these sweet nothings, all this chocolate. Get some chocolate candy that you want. That's what happens a lot in our county. Giving people candy all the time. They take that candy. Go ahead, Mustafa.
Well, but we should be clear, because we got, all these folks who are watching, that we're not against development. We want development that is driven by the people, development that is being asked for, that is going to be beneficial to the people. And sometimes that gets lost in the mix, because people will say, well, you're just anti this. It's not that. We want to be the drivers in what happens in our communities.
We are pro-development. We are pro-smart development. Now, you tell me where it's smart to have, something that's going to kill you. I mean, data centers are community killers. We're an established community. This is a community made up of predominantly Black and brown folks. We don't want to bring something in here that's going to lower our property values, make us sick, and cause all kind of harms. I mean, there are no benefits for the people.
So so when you think about benefits, you're talking about that's a distributional justice issue. We want to make sure we're getting the economic benefits, the social benefits, the health benefits of any development. So what we're saying is we're pro-development, we're pro-community, we're pro-health, we're pro-justice, we're pro-future of our people and our communities, and data centers are not part of that future.
It's really interesting. I'm going to bring up the sphere again, and there's a lot of talk about the detriments to the sphere in terms of light pollution, stormwater runoff, but you have to take the lesser of the evils, and that poses a minimal threat compared to a data center. So you're right. We are really for the kind of development that benefits the people, and it's out there. And I really say that data centers are for the uninspired. The people who are putting them forward, these are people who I think are lacking in critical thinking, because it just doesn't make sense to put something in that's going to hurt people.
You think about that. We've been doing some work on the AAX, the data center in Memphis, and you see in Boxtown, working with Justin Pearson, Keyshawn Pearson with MCAP, the impacts, of this data center, all the air pollution, and the fact that Boxtown's primarily Black, is unincorporated, so it's contamination without representation.
Amen.
And what you're seeing is we're going to keep dumping on the same folks. We're going to keep extracting from the same folks. So exactly, data centers, whether it be a coal-fired power plant, a landfill, a highway, a refinery, you got to put data centers when it comes to industrial impacts in the same vein as those polluters that are sacrificing our communities.
We want to thank you for coming out to the Shack and Moo Show. Without a doubt, we appreciate you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thanks, Doc.
Yep, everything.
Right.
Just doing.
Take care, guys.
All right, bye-bye. Well, that was deep.
Yes, sir.
Deep conversation. There's a lot to unpack. There's a lot that folks have to, begin to grapple with, and folks gonna have to get engaged on this issue.
We got to understand that data centers are an environmental justice issue. They are a public health issue, and we need to fight against it, make sure we get the right types of development in all of our communities. So make sure we're empowered, right?
I would also say that it is also a economic justice issue as well. So we have to understand that we have power and not give it away. And folks are just going to have to get engaged if they want to make sure that not only they're protecting their communities, but protecting future generations.
Well, I'm Shaq. That's Moo.
Moo.
We're out. Peace.